welcome back to the Board Game Community Show. My guest today is a co-founder at Stone Circle Games. He's a board game designer, designed Horrible Hex. They have a Kickstarter going right now, Battle for Biternia, Pixelvania, an expansion to Battle for Biternia. It's going until April 22nd, so there's still time to go back it. And even if you haven't backed it, they said they're going to be doing the backer kit, or you'll be able to late pledge. So go check it out on Kickstarter. So without any further delay, our guest, Jon Teixeira Moffat. Hello, Jon.
Evening. How you doing, Riley?
Good. How are you?
I'm hanging in there, doing as well as I can these times, I guess.
Yeah. Surviving, right?
Right.
How's your Biternia going?
Pretty well. We funded Sunday. We hit our goal, and now we're just shooting for stretch goals. So it means we got to scramble and get out sprites and previews of all that good stuff we got hidden behind extra tiers.
That is really exciting. How much of it is prepared?
Yeah, so all the core heroes we had designed for quite a while, and then we had sprites of them done. So for the expansion heroes, we've got the sprites either done or in process with Fabio Fontes. And then as far as designing them, we've got we know what their powers are. We need to tweak some names and wording and probably a couple numbers here and there, but they're basically designed. A lot of the artwork, on the cards and stuff isn't done yet because we didn't know if we could afford it yet, but we're working on that now.
And you guys have done quite a few quick Kickstarters, right?
We have done, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is our fourth Kickstarter. Our first one was for a game called Horrible Hex, which we just got through by the skin of our teeth. The second one was the first time we tried Battle for Biternia, and we did not fund. We learned quite a bit from that, I think. We made some mistakes. We weren't quite as ready as we should have been, so we came back 4 or 5 months later and then knocked it out of the park. And this is our fourth Kickstarter for the expansion.
Wow, that is awesome.
So you might hear my son jumping around the background there. That's my other job.
Oh, of course, yeah. You have 3 kids, right?
I have 3 kids. Yeah. Do you have any?
No kids. Not yet. A bunch of cats. How long have you? Are you married? I take it.
Yes.
Okay. How long have you been married?
Let's see. We got married in. I know how old I was. Just remember what year it was. We got married in 2007. I think it was.
So 14 years about.
Oh, almost there. Yeah.
That's exciting.
That's crazy. Especially with this last year not counting. The years of time flying by.
I don't know. I think it either counts as an extra 2 or 3 years.
Hey, everything's in terms of the before 4 and the now, right? There's just this big gap we're all going to have collectively. It's going to be fun.
Exactly. Yeah. It's the blip from the Marvel universe.
Exactly. And then we're going to deep blip at some point and be like, what the were we doing that whole time?
Yeah. What happened with that?
Remember what we did? Oh, yeah. We had to survive some way.
Oh, my gosh. Have you seen, I'm a big TV show guy, so there's a show called Last Man on Earth.
I started that one. I don't know why. I think I'm just busy or something. I only got a couple episodes in and I kind of dropped it, but it's a cool premise. I like the premise.
Yeah. It was interesting because it started in 2020. Everyone had died and the year was 2020. And I was just like, oh my gosh, that is so weird. And
oh, that's super frightening. Okay.
Yeah. They had an episode that went flashbacked and showed things, and it showed kind of alluding that President Trump passed away from the virus, and then Mike Pence, and then and it just went through the whole cabinet of people, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy.
Right. So 50 years of trouble telling that from news archives. That's gonna be
I know, right?
That's fantastic. Well, should I get back into the show? Is it worth picking up again?
It's honestly one of my favorite shows.
That sounds
I
like
just
yes.
think it's
Okay.
really
Okay.
funny. Yeah.
Okay.
First season's a little rough, honestly. Second and on is amazing, I think.
Okay. Okay.
So, yeah. Are you much of a TV guy?
I try. I try.
Yeah.
Most of it right now it's superhero shows. Finding a whole hour to something without being interrupted is difficult. But I'm
Yeah.
really grooving on some of the stuff like The Boys and Doom Patrol and also just came out Invincible. So the dark. Apparently, I have a dark sense of humor because I really like those
Oh my
kind of
goodness.
creepy, disturbing superhero kind of things.
Yeah. The Boys is incredible, and Invincible has been really, really good.
I just every episode I've been thinking I figured out what it's going on and what the tone is, and then just the last few minutes of every episode are like, okay, we're not doing that. Okay, this is not a coming of age straightforward family thing. Oh, all right.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I don't want to spoil anything for anybody that's listening, but it's like you said, at the end of the episode, I'm back to being like, I don't know if this person's a bad guy or what's going on with them, and it
Yeah,
is
yeah.
wild.
No, they found a great way to balance the tropes and the things and recognize with still being able to surprise us, which is cool. That's not an easy feat.
Yeah, exactly. A buddy of mine had given me the first volume or a couple issues of something way back in the day, because he used to be in like a comic drawing group with the artist,
Oh, cool.
and so
Very cool.
he always was like up to date on all of that. So it's been interesting talking to him and him being like, well, you don't know what's gonna happen. You're like, he knows what's going on, but
You jerk.
I know. I was like,
Just
oh.
tell me.
But part of me is glad I didn't stick to the comics, mainly because I just didn't have a constant supply of them. But now, like, even that end of that first episode was a total surprise to me. I was
Oh,
in
sure, yeah.
complete shock. And I feel like that had more of an impact than maybe if I had read it. So
Absolutely, absolutely. Do
nah.
you draw then? I saw you do you paint. I saw that online.
Oh, I'm painting miniatures. I
Yeah.
just barely started getting to that, and it's an adventure, but I can't draw to save my life. What about you?
I love to draw, but I'm horrible at it. I still have track marks on my arms from my 40K days. So I have painted.
Ooh.
I was never good at it, but I did, and I did my time. And I think I'm done. I enjoyed it while I was doing it, but it takes a lot of focus I don't have right now.
Yep, I can understand that. Going back to superheroes, because Marvel United came out, or I finally got my copy. I'm really excited.
Oh, nice.
But that's like the whole reason I got into painting was because I was like, I really want to paint these guys.
Oh, okay, cool.
So forced myself to try it. But yeah, my co-host on Nerding Out. This is a different podcast. He does commission painting for miniatures and stuff.
Oh, okay.
So I've got a good resource to be like, hey, I don't know what to do. Do I dip my brush in the paint and then put it on the miniature?
Just dump the paint on and like slurry it around with the brush. What are we doing here?
Exactly. I thought it was finger painting at first. I was like dipping my finger in the paint, and I said,
Oh man,
this
I
only
wish
lasts like 2 or 3 fingers.
my army would have looked awesome if I could have finger painted them. Man,
Yeah.
that sounds so much easier.
Actually, now I'm wondering what that would even look like.
I'm sure if you search the dark corners of 40K Google, you'll find someone who's done it. There's a Hello Kitty army I've seen out there. There's all sorts of crazy stuff. I'm sure someone's done it. So I think I saw someone do. They did Space Marines, but they're all dogs. Like they built little doggy armor that looks like Space Marine armor, but it's for dogs, and it's must have been a lot of work.
Oh my goodness, that is awesome. So, how long have you been designing games?
Oh boy, yeah, that's one of the two hardest questions to answer. I don't know. I, I like to say forever, but that's not really true.
Came out
I
of the
mean,
womb designing.
so I'm the oldest of four brothers, and so the only non-violent thing we could ever do together was board games. So we played board games. I had, Hero Quest when it first came out. We had Risk. That's the only game my dad would play with us. And so I just remember from because I wanted to beat my brothers, I would change the rules and say, well, wait. What if we play Hero Quest, but like this guy gets a bazooka? How would that work? Just tinkering. So I always kind of did that. But I didn't really start designing until college. There was a very strong science fiction society and gaming group. Then they got me into Babylon 5 and Firefly and all that kind of stuff. And there was actually a very, very early game design club that someone started. We had like 2 meetings, then we fell apart and everyone got bored.
No.
But that's when I kind of got the bug, and I started looking at what was out there and started messing with it and trying to make something that was different, And they're always unique, never very good. But so that took practice. But so really it was college. I really got into it as a thing that you can design and then have an end product and finish it and maybe consider publishing it or pitching it or that kind of thing. It was end of college.
Was the one that you launched on Kickstarter Hex? Well, I just spaced on the name. Horrible Hexes?
Horrible Hex. Yeah, we regret naming it that deeply. Everyone tells me that's hurt sales. I don't know. I still think it's funny.
I thought it was a catchy name. I like alliteration, though. I'm a sucker for alliteration.
Oh, well, if you like it, then it's definitely my idea. Okay, yeah.
Was that your first published game?
That was my first published game. I sold a game to Steve Jackson Games before that.
Oh, cool.
But they never ended up. They bought the rights, but never ended up actually doing anything with it.
Oh.
And then so Horrible Hex was my first published game.
That's rough, but you made a little money off of it, right?
Right. Yeah, that's worst. That's not a bad fail mode, right?
Yeah.
Get some money and then don't do anything on it again. Okay, fine.
Cool.
Take that.
Yeah, I guess, right? Obviously, we are in this to make games. That's the end goal.
Oh yeah. If I ever sat down and did the math of the hours and the investment, and
gosh,
there's no point in doing that because it just depressed me. But
I know
my game's out there, and that's what matters.
It's just like starting a business. I own my own business, and when starting out, I mean, even forever, it's like if I don't work, I don't make money. It's the same thing with game design. Like if I don't design, I don't make any money designing.
Sure.
I don't count my hours a week. I just work what I need to work and do what I need to do. And it's like exactly the same thing. Designing games is being self-employed, essentially.
Exactly. Oh yeah, absolutely.
And that's the end goal, I think, for a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, most of the designers I know are just happy if someone's playing it or talking about it. I like publishing it mostly because that's when I know it's done. I'll keep tinkering and perfecting things forever. And so I've told people is like, I just want to publish this. Well, why? What do you're not gonna make money of it? I don't care. I just want someone to tell me it's done.
Yeah,
with authority.
Right.
If it's printed, it's done. Too late. Okay, can't touch it. Okay, take it away from me, please.
Yeah. But then you'll still kind of wonder about it. I mean, and that's where expansions and whatnot come from.
I mean, if you're lucky, yeah, sure, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, well, then that's why we're again back to Battle for Biternia. That's why we're so excited, is because we get to throw all these crazy ideas we loved but knew they wouldn't work. We'd have time for. We say, oh, wait, we get a second bite at the apple. Okay, cool. Here's some more cool stuff we had in the back of our minds. There we go.
You co-founded Stone Circle Games.
Yes.
Who's your co-founder?
So we started off with a team of 8 people. We're down to a much smaller team now. So it originally started with a guy named Aaron Fennell, who's another one of our developers still. And we met through a really long and convoluted series of friend of a friend of a friend of a friend, and kind of an icebreaker. Someone said, oh, by the way, Aaron, there's this guy I know, John. He designs games too. Maybe you should talk to him. We just started talking, and Aaron said, I've always wanted to make a company because I kind of like the business part of it. I kind of like owning the product and going from start to finish. And so we said, cool. And we built it from there. So we're all kind of wear lots of hats. We're all a little design, a little bit development, Pixelvania and Battle for Biternia. I'm not the designer. It's Chris Falkenberry. But I do some development stuff, so I got to work on the product part of it, which was very new to me. How do things look? How does a box laid out? How do you track hit points? What's the best way to do that? Is it chits? Is it cards? Is it sliders? That kind of stuff. I like the user interface stuff, and then
Yeah.
just supply chains and learning about when Chinese New Year is, so you can deal with that. It's definitely not what I thought I was going to be doing when I said, I'll start a game company," but it's been a lot of fun.
Do you do, I guess, how many games do you guys have at a time that you're working on? And do they get shot down much or?
Yeah, so like I said, we're kind of unique as a small publisher in that we have a lot of designers, that are also board members and doing other jobs. So we always have tons and tons of things. I'm the kind of designer that I don't want to count how many prototypes I have that I've forgotten about because it would depress me. But so yeah, we have tons and tons of stuff we're always working on. Over the years we've become friends. We play together. We had game nights together, in the before four, and now we're doing it on tabletop simulator and stuff. So we're always just kind of bouncing ideas off each other, play testing things, and a lot of them we're just kind of having fun. And we look at it, and if we put the other hat on, we'd say, you know what, this is not marketable. We can't sell this, but it's cool. Let's just play around with it, and maybe something spins off of it. We've had that where we worked on a game, and then we said, well, this one piece we can make into something else. Let's focus on that. We've done that. Um, so the answer is lots of things. Lots of things. In the company right now, the primary designers are myself and Aaron. So we've got our own little projects. We've got tons of stuff, obviously, for Biternia backed up. A couple outside designers that pitch us things that we're thinking about and mulling over. But yeah, so that sounds lame, but the answer is lots. Lots
Yeah.
of
That doesn't sound lame to me. That sounds awesome. It sounds like you're living the dream. Is this what you're doing full time then?
No, absolutely not. No, I daylight as a government flunky.
Oh,
I
okay.
actually work for the United States Patent Office. So
Oh,
that's what pays the bills and lets me feed the kids. And then this is my second job. Like we said earlier, all of us are kind of just in it to make games, to work on it, to learn, and to kind of have fun. So we're not not leaning on this as our retirement plan by any means.
yeah. So I assume that all of your games are just stolen patents that you didn't file.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Is that the rumor? I don't know if that's true or not with like Ben Franklin.
Oh, they stole patents. I wouldn't be surprised if they accused him of that. Sure, why not?
Yeah, right.
It's a funny thing because patents amuse me because everyone I've talked to has some opinion or thought about it. Nobody actually knows anything about it unless you actually work in intellectual property. But it's interesting because everyone kind of has this idea about it, and it's usually based on something true, or it's just more exciting than the truth actually is. Is usually what happens.
That makes sense. I feel like I know nothing about them. So, which I guess did that kind of give you a little bit of a when it came to both of your games, Battle
Yeah.
for Biternia and Horrible Hex, did having that background in patents kind of give you a leadway of being like, well, I know what to do on this part of the game or like business.
Sure. So, at the risk of going off on a crazy tangent and being boring, because this is my life.
I'm
um,
excited.
Knowing a little bit about intellectual property is very important for a game publisher. As a designer, it doesn't matter, right? Unless I'm making a game about patents, which I think would put everyone to sleep because I'd unfortunately would make it too accurate and it would put everyone to sleep. It's a lot of paperwork. But definitely knowing something about intellectual property is very important. Um, Unfortunately, the biggest part that affects games is not patents; it's copyright
Hmm.
and trademark to a degree. If you're like CMON and you care about trademark. We're small enough; we don't care much about it. But so knowing a little bit about intellectual property in general has helped because you get people asking questions about, well, do we have to have an NDA? Do we have to do this? Do we have to do that? And you can just say, no, you don't. Here's how it actually works. All that kind of stuff. I for a while made it my life mission to go on Board Game Geek, and people would ask, "Should I patent my board game?" And I would go on and say no, and then the question kept coming up, and people kept giving the wrong answer, and I said, I give up. I give up. I can't fix this one rumor. It's been going on for so long. That and the rumor that you can't call things tapping because of magic. That's not true.
Yeah. Oh,
They
is it
did have a
not?
patent. It expired. It wasn't actually of the word tap. That's different. But again, it gets really weedy and legalese. And
Oh
I've
man.
for my own mental health, I'm done fighting that battle. Sure, you can't say tap, whatever. I don't care.
So that's actually, I think I always get like because I grew up playing Magic. My wife, I'll be teaching my wife a game, and I'll be like, and then you just tap your card. And she'll be like, "What? What are you talking about?"
Oh, I do that all the time. I do that all the time.
And like, I don't exhaust, I guess. And I was like, you just turn it to the side, and it's like every other game refers to it as exhaust. And I'm like, why can't we use tap? And
It's really in the lexicon. Yeah. So don't worry about getting sued. You're not going to get sued. Don't worry about it.
phew.
But I mean that's something I do all the time. So I'm teaching a game, especially if people I'm comfortable with. I'll say you don't want to teach a game and say, oh well, if you know this game, then it makes sense, right? Because that's not a good explanation.
Right.
But sometimes I'll say, do you play Magic? Yes. Okay, cool. I can use terms like mana and upkeep and tap, and you'll follow. Okay. Wait, have you played Ra? Okay, you know what an auction is. Cool, good. We're good to go. So I do try to keep a stable of those baseline games to explain things, but with newer players especially, or if people I don't know well, I try to avoid it. But it's hard not to because it's
Yeah.
so ubiquitous to people like you and me who have played Magic forever.
Right. Uh, that's interesting, though. I wouldn't have known that it wasn't patented anymore, or uh, so I
Like I
can
said,
write it in my rule
most
book.
all patent secrets are very long and boring.
Yeah. No, that wasn't boring. I think a lot of because like I went on the internet and like researched that, and I found like, oh, it's because Wizards of the Coast owns it, or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
And so to know that's not true is cool.
I mean, don't you can't cite me as an official government, stance of this, but
Yeah.
off the record, don't worry about it.
Yeah. Well, and generally, like, I used to do a very small gathering of local musicians back when I was a musician. We called it Guitar BQ, and we would always name it like Guitar BQ 2, Guitar BQ for a Cause, Guitar BQ, The Reckoning, whatever,
Oh, I love it. I love it.
And so it was always Guitar BQ. And on the last one we did, it was Guitar BQ for charity or for a cause. And we were like
Yeah.
raising money for suicide awareness. And
Oh, fantastic.
yeah, it was great. And all of a sudden I get this message, which I didn't see until like months after the event ended. Uh, but someone had like sent me a message saying like cease and desist type thing for using this term.
For
And
a
it was like
call for the oh
Guitar BQ, which we had been using for like 10 years.
oh wow.
And I was like, oh my gosh, that is crazy. And so I kind of looked into it because I was worried, like, oh no, are they going to come after me? Because
Sure,
I
sure.
didn't see it before. And it's like, oh, most people just send cease and desists and then you have to change it. But
Right, right. It's yeah. It's the legal version of please stop.
yeah.
If it comes from Disney or Microsoft, then I'd be frightened. But
Yeah. Some guy who threw like a Christian rock festival, I was like, oh, hopefully he's not like going to attack.
hopefully,
So.
yeah, punitively slapping around people for being charitable is not in the Bible. I'm pretty sure.
That's what I thought. But what are some of your favorite games now?
I really like, just as a thing, I like a lot of player interaction. I like being able to be mean to people. I say if there's no cursing at the game night, then I'm doing something wrong, right? So I like auction games, things like Ra, Jorvik, which doesn't look like an auction game, but it's really mean auction game. Things like High Society, really in your face, mean kind of things. Um, Favorite game is probably Cosmic Encounter. Um, because it's sort of a war game, but sort of not. It's sort of negotiation, but it's sort of figuring out how to bend rules to mess with people. I really like that.
I haven't heard of that one. I'll have to check it out.
That was one of the first I remember from college. I think it was originally published in, I want to say 75. I'm probably wrong, but something around that. And so someone had like an original printing. It was this horrible paper chits version of the game. It was so
Oh
ugly.
wow.
I remember seeing it and saying, "What the heck is wrong with you? You guys are nerdier than I am. That's ridiculous. You're playing this black and white thing when I'm playing this really awesome looking Catan, Carcassonne. It's got color, stuff like that." And then now I've come full circle. And, wow, this game's amazing. No wonder it's been around been in print for 50 years. I mean, it's must have something to it.
Yeah, man, that is wild though.
But yeah, anything that's got a lot of cursing, a lot of messing with people, and in your face, that's kind of my jam. Negotiation, that kind of stuff. I like it.
Yeah. Are you competitive when playing?
I'm really not. I'm really not.
Oh, okay.
No, and I'm really not a competitive person. I don't care who wins. The games where it's about scores, and I see people on Board Game Geek saying, "Oh, how do you get 300 points in this or that?" I don't remember any single score I've gotten in any game. I don't care. I like to laugh at people when I stab them in the back. I like to be laughed at when I make a mistake. I like the camaraderie of the really in your face stuff. So I think for me the board games are a fun, safe space to be a little aggressive and mean. In a way that you can't be to people that are friends, because I play with my friends. I like my friends.
Hmm.
So it's a nice way to be like, oh, I'm gonna get out my darker side, but in a nice way, right?
Yeah.
I kind of like that.
This is something I'm always interested in. Fellow married folks who game and design, and how much does your wife get into it?
So she likes games as a social thing, kind of like she likes with the people. She doesn't like learning new games, but the games that she likes, she'll play to death. So if it's Carcassonne or Bonanza, she loves, or Bang. We used to play a lot of Bang back in the day when we could have people over.
Hmm.
So she really likes it when it's hanging out with friends and kind of stuff. As a picking apart the systems and learning things, not so much like me. Um, so her tastes are more about, again, the social experience and kind of the economics side of it. She likes that, being able to figure out the economy of it, that kind of thing. So it depends on the game. She's there for her favorites, but getting new games to the table is that's more me and the friends in the game group, or my older kids.
So you play a lot with your kids?
Almost 100% of my gaming these days is my kids.
Hey, that makes
We're
sense.
with family anyway, just because of what's going on. Yeah, yeah. So my older two are 9 and 7. So there's this weird thing with kids where they're at an age where they could learn any game. They can read the cards, they can play it, but they're not going to
Yeah.
appreciate a sit down for 3 hours and grind through this economic machine or this long war game, right? They don't have the attention span for that. So
Right.
I definitely have tailored my purchases lately around, okay, I can teach this in 5 minutes. It'll last 45 at the most, and it's got a lot of points where I can help you along. Not too much reading, just so you don't get bored, and I think you'll like it. So
Yeah.
it's a different criteria, but I think I found some happy medium between my evil, mean games and their more attention span friendly games.
That's really cool though. I sometimes tease my wife like we need to start having kids just so that I can so I have people to talk to.
Oh, it's risky because then my oldest got into Pokemon, and that's great. I love it. I love how excited he is, but I don't understand it at all.
Oh yeah.
So, I don't know, for whatever reason, that was the one like nerd thing I just never clicked with me. I never got into that, and so now, oh great, now that's interesting. Right? I hear what you're saying. That I love that you love it. I
Yeah.
just don't get it. That's cool for you.
do th- do they play the card games? Like
So
the
it's kind of funny because he got really into it. I think he watched the show and he wanted the cards because all his friends had the cards. They're trading and talking about them. And so I said, okay, fine. It's my son. I'm going to get into it. I'm going to learn the game. I'm going to make some decks that make sense. I talked to some friends, And I taught it to him, and he liked it just fine. And then a couple
Yeah.
weeks later, I saw him playing with his friends, and they're just making up their own rules and talking about how cool the characters are.
Oh.
My kid was the only one who knew how to play the game. It was, it's just not. It just wasn't what they were into. It was very funny, and I just had to step back and say, "Oh, okay. Well, I clearly thought about this from my standpoint, not from what they like about it, right?" And
Yeah.
so I've played by their rules now, and it's a lot faster. It doesn't make sense to me, but
It's whatever's coolest wins, right?
yeah, they had rules about evolving or something, and you could just do it, but only on some days. I don't know. They
Oh,
love it. They love it.
interesting. Oh, that's cool. Hey, that's kind of the start to designing, right? It's like playing with an existing game and tweaking it to be your own.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, they're at that age where they just want to do what dad does. So even if they're not interested in it, they'll say they are. So they,
Yeah.
they've said they've got new character ideas and they want to help you with this and that, and it's a lot of fun.
Oh, that is really cool. So they get a credit in all of your games, right?
I mentioned that a while ago. I said, if you do design, you get in the rule book, and they love that idea. They said, "Daddy, you got to put our name in the rule book." Yeah, every single one. Yeah. Every single one. Does everyone get to be in the rule book? Well, everyone that helps. Oh, okay.
Oh, that is really cool.
So that's yeah. I mean, if I can pay my design team in credits, that's the dream, right?
Yeah, yeah, right. They don't know any better.
Right, right. The room and board is covered, so what do they care?
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah. Oh, I love it. Hopefully they grow up and they want to keep at that. That would be really fun. Have a family. Oh man, have a family design team.
There we go. We can compete with the Engelsteins.
Yeah. Oh, I love it.
Jeff Engelstein, if you're listening, I'm not coming after you.
He is. That was a call to action.
Oh, damn. Okay. Well then, all right.
Good luck.
Let's make this happen. You pick the weapon. I'll pick the place.
Yeah. I say Pokemon.
Right. Damn it, my only weakness.
It's interesting hearing how kids are into that again, because I remember in like third or fourth grade starting to collect Pokemon and playing that with my brothers so much, and going to school and trading, and it's like that was, oh gosh, I don't even know how many years ago that was, but a lot of years ago.
Definitely got to date myself then, because I was in high school, at least when I first heard of it, and me and my friends were really into the Star Wars CCG at the time, and a couple people showed up and they had this new game. We said, "What's that? Looks interesting. It's brightly colored." "Oh yeah, Pokemon." And they showed it to us and said, "Yeah, I'm gonna go back to Death Star over here. You can do what you do."
Well, that's definitely cooler to a teenager, right?
I don't want to go ahead and I don't want to associate myself at all with being cool as a teenager, but to me, it was more interesting anyway.
Yeah. Well, nowadays, nerdy stuff is cool. Like Marvel comic books and stuff. Like I used to
We've
be
won.
like a
That's true. We've
closet.
won.
I know. Yeah. Like that's culture now.
And now we have to have internal fights over wait, are you a Zack Snyder Superman or a CW Superman hero or a comic book? Now we got factions again. Okay, good.
It's true. Yeah. It's like, we shouldn't have that. We just, everyone loves it. So let's be happy with that. Let's not try and break up. Yeah, no, it's going to happen. And I find myself doing that, like, because I used to read Deadpool's what really got me like into reading comic books, Deadpool and Spider-Man.
Spider-Man's my favorite superhero, right?
Same.
Awesome.
And so it was like, when the Deadpool movie came out, I was just like, oh man, everyone's jumping on board the Deadpool train. And then I realized, like, you know what? That's awesome, because that means I get more Deadpool. Like,
exactly.
It's like, it's perfect. Like, yeah, welcome on. Like, I don't care how late you come on now. Like, you coming into it makes it better for everyone.
That's right. Some of it's good, some of it you won't like, whatever. There's more of it. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So, are you a comic book guy?
No, I mean, time to time, I don't have the bandwidth to keep up with it. I
Right.
have a friend who's really into comics, and he'll give me the recommendations. I really like I'll just wait and get the bound graphic novel versions.
That's me.
So okay, that's you. Okay, yeah. So I got Red Sun way back in the day. Just now it was White Knight, which I really loved. That was great.
Mm.
So I try to keep somewhat abreast of what's going on, but there's just so much of it. gotta pick my battles.
So what else do you nerd out about? What do you like to do outside of board games?
Yeah, I'm kind of a hobby person. I write, not as much as I used to. I've written a couple novels and short stories and stuff. Um,
What?
Mostly science fiction and one collection about superheroes. That's part of it. That's my extension of why being into superhero TVs and stuff. So I wrote a short story collection I published about superheroes.
I mean, you don't have to if you don't want it, but I would love to read it. If you want to plug it now, go ahead.
I mean, if only you are interested, that's fine by me. I self-published it because again, I have no interest in doing promotion or worrying about that. I just put it on Amazon. It's called Why No Heroes, and it's I published it a couple years ago. I started writing it 15, 20 years ago. So it's a collection of short stories about reasons why we would not want superheroes and why they would not want to be superheroes. So it's all the powers gone wrong kind of stuff from my
I love it.
brain of watching movies and reading comics and just all these random bad ideas I had in my head kind of put down onto paper is what it is. So it's mostly just for fun, and then I said, yeah, why not? I'll throw it out into the world.
And then what about your science fiction?
Yeah, so I've read. I had a couple of short stories published. But mostly, it's just stuff I worked on and kind of abandoned. So I've got I tried my hand at cosmic horror. I'm a huge fan of cosmic horror.
Hmm.
I tried my hand at it. I don't know if it worked, and it's something I've kicked around to different friends to read and stuff. And maybe I'll try to publish it someday. Who knows? But the whole publishing thing is a whole other job trying to get published. And it's one I'm
Yeah.
just not interested in right now. So
What other hobbies we got?
I brew. I saw you're from Salt Lake, you're from Utah, so I didn't know if that was a no, but
Oh no, go ahead. Yeah.
years ago, my wife went to we used to go to the Ren Fair and stuff, and she found a company that made these kits, and so she snuck off. She bought me a mead making kit, and
Oh,
I made mead in my kitchen, and I've never looked back.
that is
I
so
make it
cool.
faster than I can drink it because it's just fun to think up, mess with recipes. And it's just one of those things where I can, unlike board games, I can do by myself, which is nice. I can just have some me time and just think up crazy things. And if it's terrible, I throw it away. Nobody ever knows I messed up. And if it's good, I give it away to friends and hopefully bring some joy to somebody.
Yeah, that is really really cool. Do you like how do you like go about deciding what to put in there, I guess?
So I because I'm a little bookish about it. I read a number of books on brewing beer and mead, and specifically in some of the chemistry stuff. So I have a little understanding how the background works, but mostly I just kind of tasted some stuff, and there's some really great forums online that I just kind of copied, and then said,
Hmm.
well, this isn't exactly what I want. I want it to be sweeter because I like candy, so I'll make it sweeter. Oh, I don't like this, but ooh, cardamom's nice. What do cardamom do? Oh, I like raspberry, not blueberry, so let's do that. So I just kind of mess around. And like I said, it's kind of a nice hobby because I can mess around and make something that I like. And if someone else likes it, I can share it. And if not, then fine, more for me.
Yeah, right.
No worries.
How long does it take to brew?
So the actual process of mixing it up and putting it into the thing is you can do that in under an hour. For
Hmm.
something like beer, we have to boil and ingredients. It'll take you a few hours, and then it's a lot of waiting for the yeast to do their job, right? Which takes you between roughly 2 weeks and a few months. And then for mead in particular, you have to age it, which can take anywhere from a few months to a couple of years. I think I'm trying
Whoa.
to think. My oldest bottle, I think, is 5 years old. I know it's older than my youngest son, so it's more than four. So yeah, I think I have a 5-year-old bottle, and it's probably ready. Probably,
Maybe.
maybe. The problem is you can't know until you. There's only destructive testing, right?
Right, yeah.
I can't just know. I have to drink it.
But once you crack it open, is it at that point it's like you have to drink it? You can't just rebottle it?
Uh, yeah, so it'll oxidize.
Okay.
Flavor will change and all that. I'm not super pedantic about it, so I will save bottles and recork them sometimes. But generally, yeah, when I open the bottle, it's because either I know it's ready or I have enough people that we can split it up, and I don't care if it's ready; it's gone.
That is really cool. What's the favorite that you've made?
Um, so the favorite ones I made, I use instead of water as the base, you use apple juice, and the style is called a cider. So it's basically a mix of cider and mead, and it's delicious. I throw in a little bit of pomegranate. Sometimes I throw in a little bit of molasses to get that really minerally gritty flavor, which I like. So that's been my favorite recipe.
Oh, that sounds good to me. I think if I was a drinker, that would probably be something I'd be into. I don't like bitter, so it kind of sounds like we're similar there.
Exactly. I've had people comment that, well, this is way too sweet. Okay, well then more for me.
Yeah.
So I tend to err on that side, sweet and fruity.
Well, what other hobbies? You got more?
And that's the bulk of what I spend my time on.
Okay.
I do like reading about the history of piracy is my other hobby. Kind of, I think of
Oh.
this because I just finished a very good book called "Enemy of All Mankind," which is about again, sort of getting but in nerding out about Henry Avery, one of the first big pirates in history, and how he impacted the East India Company and trade in the Indian Ocean and international politics and all that. Uh, so it's fascinating. I mean, it's kind of a fun overlap with just general nerd culture. That's how I got into it. Watched Pirates of the Caribbean. And I played some pirate board games. And I said, that's cool, but I really want to learn about the history of it. And so I kind of got lost in that rabbit hole years ago.
So are you going to get a ship? Start pirating?
I threaten my wife every time. She says, we you got a bonus, or this bill was lower than we thought. What are we going to do with it? And I say, boat, pirate ship, long-term investment. You can't lose money by stealing money. Yeah, it's just not possible. It's math.
It makes sense to me. She jump on board for that?
Um, no, I should mention she's an economist, so she actually understands money, which I don't, and she's pretty confident, and I trust her that it's not actually a good investment.
Dang it.
I
I
know.
think the risk of scurvy, right? That's where the money starts to drain.
Yeah, somewhere between scurvy and the wrath of the Coast Guard. Again, I'm
Oh,
not.
right, Coast
I
Guard.
don't know the relative cost there, but she's talked me out of it.
I used to work overnights at Target, and before I worked overnights, I worked daytimes, and there was like the most interesting people work overnight. And sometimes I would just label them and be like, well, that person's a vampire and that person's a pirate because that's what they looked like 100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then when I went and started working overnight with them, the lady I said was a vampire, like legitimately was obsessed with vampires. And the guy that I
Interesting.
thought was a pirate was like, I really want to get a ship and go and be a pirate. I was like, he's like, I want to go to like oil rigs and just like loot them and do all he like had a plan and everything. And
Wow.
we talked about it endlessly.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
Man, I was like, I didn't know people still did that. Like I mean they do, but
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm surprised you admitted it. You think you'd be like, what I really want is to do is be a sailor and just go off and not do anything, just be on the ocean. By the
yeah, I
way, I
just
need
want
cannons.
to exactly. No reason, just for novelty.
No reason.
I have a list of questions, and I think we answered all of them. I just barely looked at it, and I'm like, oh, yeah, looks like everything's been answered. But
Yeah, I mean, I know you're doing editing stuff, so let me know if you want any, specific answers. I'm happy to do that. If you guys want to riff on, it works for me.
yeah, I mean that's what we've been doing this whole time, and it's flowed really well. Which I'm always really nervous because, as you might have noticed, we're in a pandemic and we don't get to socialize very often.
I had noticed, yes.
Yeah, so I'm like, how much has my conversational skills like
degraded over that time. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, maybe this podcast is not a great idea.
The real tragedy for me has been my job is fairly independent. Didn't have spent a lot of time in my job doing my job by myself. So things like game nights and that was the bulk of my social interaction, or just hang out with a couple of coworkers afterwards, get a drink, or going and doing whatever job, right? Interacting with people at stores. So I don't have
Yeah.
that. Whereas my wife's job is all phone calls, interaction. So she's just worn out, and I'm saying I miss adults. I don't get to talk to adults anymore. So like you said, I maybe I don't know how to anymore. We'll see.
Right? It's weird. So hopefully this gives us both a little practice.
Right.
I just remembered that you, a while ago, you were working on a game called Night Soil, I think.
I am, yeah.
Are you still working on that?
Oh yeah. It's so there's a couple of this is one that's kind of the top of my work queue in a sense. So this is one that my company is considering, but also a couple other publishers are looking at. So that's
Mm-hmm.
very exciting. Yeah. It's probably one of my favorite designs, honestly. It's some people have a problem with the theme. It's again one of those weird. I like these weird historical things that you learn about this weird thing in a time and a place. You say, "Huh, that's weird," and it's interesting to me anyway. Again, kind of a nerd about these things. It's kind of an anchor point that you can learn about other parts of history and society from this weird fact. And so I don't remember when, but I learned at one point that, yeah, there's people back in history who their job was, actually, in some parts of the world, there still are, their job was to go and scoop up poop and take it away from cities. That's their job. And they had this whole culture built around it, and they had a whole way of doing it, and they had special traditions and rituals around it. And it just fascinated me. And then there's people who say, "Oh, you got to give up poop," and I say, "Yeah," and they giggle, and I say, "No, that's fine. That works for me."
Yeah.
Make you giggle. That's cool too. There's history, but there's also the fact that we just said poop 10 times in the past hour. That's fun too.
I remember that was one of the earliest things I saw from you when I started following you, and I was like,
Oh, I'm so sorry.
this guy's awesome. No, I was excited. I was like, yes. And then I started paying more and more attention to all of your tweets. Like, it really is awesome.
I joke. People ask, "Why'd you do that?" I say, "Well, that means if someone calls my game crappy, I can say thank you."
I love it.
But yeah, it's a kind of a spatial puzzle mixed with a worker placement kind of thing, where the idea is, your players or rival night soil companies are trying to clean out London by scooping up these cubes that represent waste. I say waste cubes because I don't want to be crass, and then shipping them off to be sold as fertilizer. And that's where you get your income. But then it alternates. So just the historical tie, they're called nightmen or night soil because they're only allowed by law to operate at night because the job was considered unclean and disgusting, and no one wants to see that. So they'd have to work under the cover of darkness. And so the game alternates between day and night. And by night, you're cleaning up London and taking these cubes out. And then by day, you put out workers to do various tasks around London. But of course, wherever you put workers, more cubes show up because people generate the night soil. And so you're kind of alternating between creating your own problem and cleaning up your own problem.
Oh, I love it.
That's kind of the core idea there.
That just fascinates me. But have you watched this? You're gonna have to watch. It's homework for you, and it's totally relevant.
Probably get my notepad. Go on.
Miracle Workers. Have you heard of that show?
Oh yes. The first season, yeah, it had what's his name, Larry Shoveler.
Yeah,
Steve Buscemi. Yes, I watched that. Oh, I love
that. My wife and I just watched that a couple months ago.
Oh, fantastic!
Oh my gosh, this is hilarious.
Yeah, no, that was I got a kick out of that. The whole upgrading to the hole and figure out how holes work. That was brilliant, brilliant.
Oh, so good. But now I know that some of that was inaccurate because he would have been operating at night and not in
I
the middle of the day.
I don't want to go off on tangent, but yeah, it's not quite. I wouldn't use that as a historical record, but it was funny.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was fun anyway.
Oh, I absolutely loved that. So that just came to me as we were talking about that. I was like, oh my gosh, it's so relevant. You have somebody who's interested in it, right?
Yeah, a couple publishers looking at it. Um, Still doing some. So and you obviously don't need to include this in the actual podcast, but if you want to see it, I have it on Tabletop Simulator, and I always welcome new people looking at it and giving me feedback about how crappy it is. I always appreciate that. So if you're comfortable with Tabletop Simulator, we'll roll you in, and I'll get you into a game.
Let's do
Um,
it. Yeah, definitely.
but yeah. So a couple people looking at it. It's been one of those games where just because I've liked it more than a lot of my designs, I've played it a lot more, and because a lot of other people have thought it was a lot of fun, I've gotten to trick people into playing it for me a lot more. So it's got a lot more development. But it's pretty close to done, I think. I hope it's pretty close to done. It feels like it is.
Nice. As done as a game can be, right?
Well, like I said, that's half the reason for publishing is that someone can say, John, just stop. We're gonna take this away from you.
Yeah.
All right, I'll work on something else.
Oh, that's funny. I assume you have things to plug, right?
Sure. Yeah. No. Yeah. For any B-roll or whatever. Yeah. So again, on Kickstarter right now, we have Pixelvania, which is our Castlevania Ghosts and Goblins inspired hero pack add-on to Battle for Biternia, which is our tabletop MOBA. Already funded, doing really well. Got some really cool stretch goal heroes that I had a hand in developing. I'm very excited for people to get to. So please go check it out if it's up your wheelhouse, because I really want to get those out into the world.
Perfect. Thank you. And your Twitter handle. Do you want people to follow you on Twitter?
Absolutely, yeah. So the company is at the Stone Circle with the in there. I am Jon Teixeira, mostly because my name is really long, incomprehensible, unspellable, and impronounceable. And also, I have two last names, so I didn't do my kids any favors. But Texmo is easy to remember, so Jon Texmo.
Nice. I'm going to take a stab at your last name. I haven't said it. Is it Moffat?
That's one of them. I have two last names. Yep, you got that one right.
What's the other one?
Teixeira or Teixeira if you're Portuguese or from Boston.
Or from Boston?
Yeah, there's a history. It's again long and complicated, but
Okay. You're welcome to dive in if you want.
So I was born Moffat. My wife was born Teixeira, and then we just threw them both together. And we, for whatever reason, decided not to hyphenate, and that makes it super complicated. Fun fact: government computer systems don't like last names with spaces. So me and everyone from Puerto Rico are just hosed, which is unfortunate because we have a lot
Yeah.
of dual last names. Um, yeah, so Teixeira is the Americanized, Teixeira is the original, which Portuguese. So my wife's family is Portuguese, and then there's some parts of Massachusetts, in particular New Bedford, that are very heavily Portuguese, and so there are Teixeiras everywhere, and everyone knows how to pronounce it. Everyone can spell it, and then you go a town over, and nobody knows what you're talking about anymore. But I joke because there was a Mark Teixeira who was almost on the Red Sox, and then went to the Yankees, which makes people from Massachusetts very angry.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a Boston fan by marriage. I grew up in Connecticut, which means we are neutral ground, but I have been informed that I am now a Boston fan, so I'm a Boston fan.
Perfect. It's just one of those things.
It was in the vows, yeah.
Well, thank you so much, John, for coming on. That was a blast.
Thank you. This is a lot of fun. Thank you very much for setting this up. I do like doing these things, even just to practice human interaction. But
Yeah, that's the main reason I'm doing this, I guess. You're always welcome on, and I'll see you out on Twitter. And Good luck with Battle for Biternia.
Thank you.
I feel like I mess that up every time I say it. Biternia.
It's like Eternia, like a He-Man.
Oh, there we go. That'll help me.
That's where we got it. Yeah.
Whoa! They're gonna come after you now.
They know. Yeah. I don't want to fight He-Man again.
Left some scars.
Right.
Well, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. You can follow me at Nerd Out With Us. And if there is somebody that you would like to get to know better, or if you want to come on the show, at me and let me know, or DM me. I would love to hear from you. I'll ask anybody to be a guest, no matter how big, no matter how small. You are welcome on the show. I would love to talk to you. I've got some really great guests coming up, and it's just always a blast talking to people and getting to know people. Hopefully you all enjoy getting to know people throughout the community as well. If you are enjoying it, I would appreciate a review. That would be great. Let me know. If there's things that I could do better, let me know. At me or DM me and give me suggestions. Until next week, may the board games be with you.